Hi crafty friends, Shana from ShanoukiArt. I'm going to work in my shoe-themed glue book journal today. I was working on another project and had lots of little pieces left over. The colors are mainly turquoise and neutral. There's like black and white print and vintagey colors. And I thought, what better way to clean up this mess than to create a page? And of course, along with all of this, I'm going to need a shoe, which is the main feature of each page for this specific glue book. And look at this beautiful turquoise shoe that I found to use. A lot of people ask me where I get the pictures for the shoes that I use in this book, and I can share with you that I have this amazing book. I found it in an op shop a few years ago for about $1 or $2, and at the time I didn't know what I was going to use it for. There's beautiful images inside. There's the history of shoes, different colors, different shapes, but I got it because I knew that one day I would find a use for it. And this year I did. It's amazing what you can find in second-hand stores. Let's get started. To begin with, I'm going to cut out my shoe. I'll do this first now because I do use the shoe as I'm creating the background to sort of make sure I'm putting the pieces in good placement, if that makes sense. So sometimes because the shoe is a very similar color to the background, if the colors are too similar, you can't really see the shoe. So I do use it. I move it on and off the project as I'm creating to help me create a good background and frame the shoe really well. I'm then going to work through all my pieces and cut them into squares or rectangles of different sizes. So if you're new here, this specific glue book I am doing with clean cut pieces. Normally I like to tear things when I'm doing my mixed media or my journals. For this one, I'm keeping the edges clean cut. I'm keeping it to rectangles and squares. But of course, when you make your glue book, you can do it any way you like. This is just the style of this one. Don't be afraid to use anything and everything. This is a piece of paper that I made as a background page, doing like mark making with some blues and turquoises. I never got to use it in any mixed media background, but I'm going to use a piece today. For most of the pages, I've stuck to one color, except for the very first one that I made, which was purple and turquoise. So everything else has just been one solid color per page. For this one, I have the turquoise, but I am going to break that up with a little bit of the neutral tones. I've got black print on white paper or a creamy paper, some book pages, some sheet music, and I think that will create a nice balance. At the risk of boring you with all my cutting, I am going to edit the next part of the video so you just see the cut piece going down. If you've ever thought about starting a glue book, this is your sign to start one. Like I've said before, gluing down pieces like this is very therapeutic. I find it extremely relaxing, and it's a great way to get your creative juices flowing if you've lost a bit of your mojo. If you want to create something but you don't know what, or are feeling a little uninspired, doing a glue book doesn't require much, and the end result is fabulous. I'm going to start gluing down. I use a glue stick for mine. You can also use craft glue, whatever you have and whatever you prefer. I alternate mine light to dark, print or no print, trying to get an even balance throughout the page. I've sped up the video a little bit more in this section because I really am just sticking things down. There isn't much to say. I will comment though as I go. This part takes a little while. This piece is from a playing card from a printed kit that I designed for ArtStacks. It's a full printed kit ready to use. It has 8 vintage style playing cards and different elements that you can add to each card or on other projects. I'll put a link to ArtStacks in the description box below. And if I have enough of one design, I do tend to use 2 pieces across a page. Sometimes I'll cut a piece smaller, but I'll use some at the top and then again at the bottom. I like the continuity this creates, and it makes a nice flow for the eye as you're looking over the entire project. You can see I've stuck the small square piece of book page in this area, which is the 4 pieces coming together. It's their 4 corners. I just feel those pieces are quite big, and this makes a break in that section, and I wanted to bring a little bit of that vintage or that neutral tone in that section. You can see how I've spread out the brownie papers or the vintage neutral papers across the page. I haven't concentrated them all in one section. I've tried to spread them out in between the turquoise. And you can also see those darker pieces of turquoise in the bottom left, at the top and the right, sort of forming a triangle, not all concentrated on one section. This creates balance. Right, the background is basically done. Going to add the shoe to see where I'm going to place it, and then I'm going to work around the entire page and put some smaller pieces in sections just to create additional interest, to sometimes hide overlapping corners, and to break up the bigger pieces to sort of make it so that they're not so monotonous. Just a little note about this shoe. This is a little caption that was in the book. It says, highly polished cabochon emeralds and a galaxy of twinkling rhinestones paved the silk surface of this pump, created in 1961 for Ava Gardner. You can see I've added this darker brown on the top left, which balances with the bottom right, which is the same color, so that the bottom isn't sort of heavy with that darker brown. At the risk of overusing the word, I'm going to say again, for balance. Decided to add a little bit of washi tape for this one. I had a nice turquoise color with a simple design, so I'm going to add a few pieces, again, concentrating on the edges where pages overlap. This is a die cut from the Art by Marlene die cut book. It's called Essentials by Marlene. Basically anything turquoise I can find is going on this page. I'm adding a couple of butterfly stickers. I love the whimsical feel they add to the overall look. Difficult to see in this video, but this paper is actually like a glitter paper. And I have added a piece on the left there just underneath that butterfly sticker. I'm now going to punch out some small circles with my hole punch and stick them down just scattered to bring that color and glitter across the page. I also have this star die cut, which I'm going to cut in half and add it coming off the page on the bottom and the left. You can see how I'm using these smaller elements to break up the large design so it's not monotonous. It makes for a very busy background, but the shoe still stands out, and I love the different layers of stuck down things. For the little glitter paper circles, I'm going to use a craft glue for this. The glue stick is not going to hold it really well. I want it to be quite secure. So I'm just going to put a small drop where I want the little dot and then place that on top and press. This is a piece of gift wrapping paper. I love the print. I've actually used it on a journal cover before. I'm just going to cut out a couple of the leaves. There's like a green and then some with turquoise, and there's also gold on, which I really like. So I'm going to cut a couple out and place them on the page to frame the shoe and add additional interest. I really love the way that looks. I think it adds a little something extra. I'm going to glue these down. And finally, a gardener's shoe is going to go on in the center. I like this piece too much. I didn't want it to be covered by the shoe, so I've managed to pull it off and I'll just stick it somewhere else. Now, like I have with all my pages for the glue book, on the left-hand side of the book, I do write a quote with a color matching pen. I actually started doing this to practice my handwriting for when I do my art journaling, because I find my handwriting is pretty neat when I'm writing small, just regular writing, but when I try to sort of make it like a bit of a larger text or a bold heading, I tend to stumble a little bit. So I found this as a practicing mechanism. I'm going to use a turquoise Posca pen. You can of course use any kind of pen or marker, and I'm going to use a ruler just as a guide to try and keep the text straight. If you don't know what to write, you can always just Google quotes for art journaling and a whole heap come up. I love this one for today. It says, always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder. I really hope you enjoyed this video and were inspired to create your own glue book or even just a glue book page. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Feel free to like and comment on this video and even share it. Thanks again for watching. Happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.